Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we have a collaboration beer, and the two breweries involved here today have a very good reputation when it comes to New England IPAs, and I've reviewed things from both of these breweries and I've been very impressed with all the beers that I've had from both of them so far. And this one was actually rated as one of the best IPAs I think at the end of 2018, so I'm really curious to see how this one's come out. So for this one we are going to go to Whiplash Brewing, who are from Dublin in Ireland, and this is a collaboration brew that they did with Wylam Brewery, who are from Newcastle in the northeast of England. It's called Do You Want to Touch Me, and it's a double dry hopped double IPA coming in at 8.3% ABV. Big shout out to Mark at Market Hall Wines in Durham, who was giving me all the information on this beer. He tried to send one of these out to me in Sweden the first time that they brewed it, but unfortunately I think it got broken or stolen or something like that, so it didn't actually make it out to me. But he was great in the year that I was in Durham, giving me all the advice about different beers. It was actually him that introduced me to this brewery in the first place, if memory serves me correctly. But really looking forward to trying this one, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. It's cool to return to Whiplash actually after quite a bit of time, and I have managed to get a hold of a few of the Wylam beers when I've been out in Sweden in the meantime, but both very good in this New England IPA category, as I mentioned earlier. But anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about both the breweries involved here. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward a little bit. There's all the usual links in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done both from Whiplash and from Wylam. No doubt you will see more added to both lists in the fairly near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for both the English beers that I've reviewed for you before and one for the Irish beers. This beer will appear in both of those since it is half and half. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about the breweries then, we'll kick off with Whiplash, since they are the home brewery in this case. So Whiplash Brewing started off as the side project of Alex Laws, who was the brewer at Rye River Brewing in Selbridge in County Kildare over in Ireland. But he called it Whiplash basically just as a jibe at how fast the craft beer industry is always moving. There's always new hops, malts and everything going on. So he said you get a little bit of whiplash trying to keep up with everything that's going on. But the company is also co-owned by Alan Wolfe, who is the boss at Rye River, and he used to work for Guinness before starting up his own company. Alex was a home brewer though, and took part in various home brewing competitions around Ireland before he later turned professional, and he worked for Brewtonic and Otterbank breweries over in Ireland too. But he was later involved in setting up Rye River Brewing, which was apparently the first newly built microbrewery in Ireland for over 100 years. But he continued to produce his own beers at the brewery, and Rye River were very supportive of this in the early days, and so many of the Whiplash beers originally were brewed in their brewery. Alex actually plans and brews the beers, while Alan deals with things like getting the labels printed and sorting out the tank space, ordering bottles and cans and stuff like this, and also getting the beers out there for sale. But Alex left his position at Rye River Brewing Company to focus solely on the Whiplash beers back in 2017, and this year in 2019 they've moved into their new brewery in the Cherry Orchard area of Dublin, as well as establishing the Fidelity Beer Festival, which is the sort of first international beer festival over in Ireland. But you know, as I say, Whiplash Brewing are very well regarded when it comes to Irish craft beer these days. They were probably one of the, they're one of the first Irish breweries that have kind of broken out there into Europe, as far as I gather, because I can order these through a few of the online sites in Sweden, and I was able to find a few of them over in Copenhagen as well. So I think these guys are the first Irish craft brewery really to break it out into continental Europe and things like that. So that is one of the pretty cool things about this company. But as I say, very highly regarded when it comes to New England IPAs and stuff like this, and it's a brewery that you definitely need to check out. There's some very exciting things going on over in Ireland at the moment, and you will see me review some more Irish craft beers over the coming videos and things like that, so do do keep your eyes peeled to the channel for that. But that's all you really need to know about Whiplash Brewing for the moment. Let's go on to Wylam Brewery. Of course, you can check out the brewery website in the description below, and you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that, and that'll keep you up to date with all the latest goings on. And of course, Rate Beer and Untappd will have the lists of all the different beers that they've done. So anyway, on to Wylam Brewery then. So Wylam Brewery are a good bit older actually than Whiplash Brewing, but this company was founded by John Boyle and Robin Layton in the small village of Wylam to the north of Newcastle back in the year 2000. So they're not far off celebrating their 20th anniversary at the moment. But both of these guys had taken early retirement. John had been a computer engineer, and he met Rob, who was a former sea captain and avid home brewer. And one day John fixed Rob's PC, which took a long time, and apparently Robin and John agreed a payment of 5 gallons of the Weiss beer that they'd been drinking during the repair as payment for fixing the computer. And this is where the whole thing started to kind of take off, if you like. But Robin was really interested in barley wines, stouts and sour beers, which weren't very popular at the time, and both he and John wanted to see these beers made available in their local pubs. So together they introduced their first beer, which was the Landlord's Choice, back in August of 2000, and the beer became very popular in their local area simply through word of mouth. But they moved premises to Heading on Wall in 2006, and then in 2016 they moved once again to a new site at the Palace of Arts in Exhibition Park in Newcastle, which was fitted with a 30-barrel brewhouse and a brewery tap and restaurant as well. I have been there once, it is very nice, and they've got a good selection of the Wylam beers, so make sure you check that out. But in recent times these guys have become quite famous for doing a lot of different New England IPAs and some sour beers like Berliner Weisses and things like that recently. But this has really helped them to increase their kind of reputation worldwide, and they probably are regarded as one of the best IPA breweries in England these days. You know, back in the early days they were doing, you know, the Jakehead IPA was a very, very good West Coast IPA. That's one that I would recommend you check out. The Double Jakehead as well is also a very solid beer, and it's only, you know, in the last maybe 3 or 4 years that they've started to do, I think maybe in the last 2 years actually, now that I think about it, it's only in the last couple of years that they've really started to take off and have a go at the New England IPAs, and it's gone very, very well for them, and they are starting to export out to the rest of Europe and things like that these days. So if you haven't heard of Wylam Brewery before, definitely one of the breweries that you need to check out, and they have kind of sort of kicked off the beer scene in the northeast of England a little bit. There's a lot of very good breweries popping up in England these days, and it's one that you definitely want to check out. But yeah, that's all you really need to know about Wylam Brewery for the moment. Go and check out their premises in the Exhibition Palace Park over in Newcastle. You'll have a great time when you're there, and just make sure you get the times right, because I arrived a hell of a lot, you know, a good bit early to that when I went to go and visit. I think the Google times were a bit different from what was actually on the website, so do make sure you go and check that before you get the chance. But they're a very prolific brewery, releasing new things every sort of month or two. There's usually 2 or 3 new beers every month, so you've always got new things to try from them. But again, if you want to learn a little bit more, you can check out the brewery website, and of course you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that, and keep up to date with all the latest goings on. But yeah, let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer then. So as I mentioned at the start of the video, this one is an 8.3% double IPA, a double New England IPA to be precise. The hops in this one are Victoria's Secret, Brew One and Galaxy, and it's got a malt base of Maris Otter, oats, carapils, and it's also got a little bit of Belgian candy put into it as well. So there may be a few kind of tripel elements in this beer, so I'm quite curious to see how that thing turns out. I'm not sure if this is the original recipe with that they used for this, and if it's just a rebrew, or if they have tinkered with it a little bit this time. But yeah, let's get on with this guy and just see how it goes. So as you can see, lovely kind of almost minimalist artwork on this one. I'll just tip it a bit so you can see the nice colour there, the light being a little bit strange. But yeah, you know, this is the typical sort of artwork that you'll get from Whiplash, and round almost on the side of the can, this is where you'll get the name of it. You can see the Wylam Brewery symbol just at the bottom of it there, and the Whiplash one, you know, is very straight up and kind of minimalist. Their branding is really quite distinctive. It just says on the side here, brewed by Whiplash for Whiplash at Wylam Brewery, Newcastle, UK. So actually it was brewed in England, and it doesn't really say much else. 8.3% ABV, 3.7 UK units. So yeah, nicely presented can. This one, it's 440 millilitres. So yeah, I do wonder actually if some of these other Whiplash beers are being brewed at Wylam Brewery, because they do have quite a big capacity there, so maybe some of the Whiplash ones that we're getting are brewed there and distributed throughout the rest of the case. Maybe a little bit of gypsy brewing or contract brewing going on there. But lovely presented beer this, and we'll get it out and into the glass and see how we get on. So yeah, nice little bit of smoke on the opening then as we open this one up, and we'll stick it in the glass. So yeah, as you can see, and as you would expect from a New England IPA, this one's poured a very hazy, bright yellow colour this. I really like how that's going together actually. I just rinsed this glass out before. For some reason, this particular glass gives you a hell of a lot of carbonation. Now, a lot of carbonation gets stuck to the side on this when you pour a beer in, even if you rinse the glass out before you pour the beer in. But yeah, as you can see, a lovely, bright, murky yellow colour, this one. This could just be like mango juice or something like that. If I put my fingers behind the glass, there you can see the level of haze on this one. The carbonation, the mad levels of carbonation that were stuck to the side of the glass have just faded away. There's a few big bubbles still sticking there, and quite a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of that head there. The head, incidentally, is starting to fade away. It was about a half finger of a frothy, I would say perfect white head on this one, rather than being creamy. You know, it is pretty much what you would expect from a modern New England double IPA, if you like. So yeah, nothing overly surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance. So let's take a look and just see how we get on then. Ooh, that smells really nice actually. So straight away with this one, you're going to notice the malty qualities coming out of this. So I've noticed a bit of a trend when it comes to New England IPAs recently. Some of them tend to have this almost farmhousey quality that's like the old, I say old, but heady topper. It does have that almost farmhousey quality to it. So you always seem to get New England IPAs that are a little bit farmhousey, or you get the ones that are very creamy and kind of sweet. To me, in terms of the aroma, this one's definitely leaning more towards that kind of creamy, sweet side of things, and I like that actually. I've been reviewing a lot of the ones that are kind of farmhousey recently. But to me, with the malt base on this, you can definitely get a nice little bit of that wheaty quality out of there. You can definitely smell a bit of the astringency. I always found that wheat gives you a little bit of astringency and almost citrusy, spicy qualities, and you can definitely pick up a little bit of that here. But on top of that, you definitely get a nice little bit of an oaty creaminess coming out of this one. And the more you sugar the beer up, the more that oaty creaminess starts to push its way out. There's a little bit of a kind of biscuity malt in there. And I'm guessing that'll be, I think I said there was carapils in this. That'll probably be the carapils that's giving you that little bit of biscuity quality to the beer. And probably, if you know they've added some sort of Belgian candy sugar into this one like they do with the tripels, that's probably where some of it's coming too. So the malt base for me, definitely a nice little bit of a wheaty, slightly astringent quality to it. You can smell a little bit of the pungency of the wheat in there. Some nice oaty creaminess, but at the same time balanced out with a little bit of a sweet kind of McVitie's digestive biscuit, and also a little bit of that kind of Belgian candy sugar, which is nice. So yeah, malt base is pretty much everything you would expect, and compared to other New England IPAs, I would say that it's a little bit leaning towards that kind of sweeter, smoother end of the spectrum for this sort of style. So yeah, take a little bit of time and just enjoy that. On the hoppy side of things then, if we talk about the green side of the hops first, for me, this one has a really good balance between the floral, between the floral aspect, sorry, and the grassy side of things. So it's not leaning a little bit more. It's not leaning too much towards either side of that. It's not too pungent and floral, and it's not too light and grassy. It is quite well balanced in that regard. So yeah, not too much you can say about that. But the fruity side of things comes across really nicely. So I would say you've got a nice little bit of passion fruit there. That'll be coming from the Victoria's Secret. Victoria's Secret's almost a little bit like a toned down version of the Galaxy I've found. So a little bit of passion fruit coming out of this one. A little bit of a kind of mango quality as well, which will be the Citra. I think there is actually Galaxy in this one too, so that kind of makes sense. If you've got Victoria's Secret and you've got Galaxy in this one, that makes sense as to why the passion fruit is coming out quite a bit. But some nice juicy, definitely some nice juicy mangoes in there. You can pick up a little bit of those lychee complexities as well that you would normally get from Citra. The Brew 1 hop, from what I remember, it always gives you a little bit of a kind of stone fruity quality, so there's a little bit of an almost berry-ish kind of quality coming out of this one, but that, it could be the sort of Belgian candy sugar that's giving you that. There is almost a light sort of strawberry-ish, I don't know if it's right to say raspberry, it doesn't have the tartness of raspberries, but there is definitely a kind of berry-ish quality to the fruits in here as well. But there's a lot going on in this one. I mean, mainly, I would describe it as having a good bit of the pungency of passion fruit. I've always found passion fruit and grapefruit to be a little bit sort of darker and more pungent, both in their aromas and their flavours, but it's got a nice lighter kind of mango-y quality to the aroma, as well as having a little bit of a kind of berryish quality. There's maybe some apricots and a bit of pineapple in here as well. Yeah, I would go for that. I think there is definitely a bit of apricot in here. It really reminds me of these little Munch Bunch yogurts that my mum used to give me in my lunchbox when I was going to school and things. But in terms of the fruitiness, I would describe it as having a little bit of that tropical pungency, but quite a bit of juiciness too, and you can pick up some of these lychee and gooseberry notes that you'll get in the complexities from Citra as well. So a really nice balance of things going on here, and definitely one of the more kind of complex New England IPAs that I've come across over the last little while. But let's have a taste of this one then and see how we get on. So this one is the Do You Want to Touch Me, a collaboration double IPA from Whiplash Brewing from Dublin in Ireland and Wylam Brewing, who are from Newcastle in the northeast of England. Let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål, cheers. Yeah, that's really bloody good. I can see why Mark was going on about this beer, because it's really just very, very well done. So, you know, big thumbs up to both breweries for what they've pulled off here. This is really, really good. You know, I've always found with the Wylam beers, they do have that bit of tropical pungent kick to them, and I really like that about what they do. I'm trying to remember, I've had so many beers from Wylam over the last kind of year or two that it's difficult to remember some of the names of these things, but they've always been of a very, very good quality, and they always find some way to actually improve on the last one that they've done. But this, to me, if you like the beers that Wylam have done before, this is one that will really kind of pique your interest, if you like. And it covers up the booze really pretty well actually, but at the same time, if you compare this to a lighter regular single IPA, you can get the impression that this one is a little bit boozier. Let's start off with the malt base then. So straight away you'll get that nice wheaty, white bready quality, that just blankets the middle of your tongue. The further that you go into the aftertaste, you will feel some of that almost pungency, if you like, that sort of astringency of the wheat pushing its way out of the flavour. But when you move a little bit further in towards the centre of your tongue, you do start to get some of the oaty creaminess out of this beer, and in the very centre of your palate you can pick out that nice light biscuity quality, which will be coming from the carapils. There's maybe a little bit of a straight up caramel in the centre of your palate, but as you move out from that, you start to get the more biscuity notes, and then further towards the edge of the tongue you get the more creamy oaty qualities. And I think further into the aftertaste, that's when some of those Belgian candied sugars start to come out, and it's almost a little bit like it does have a little bit of a reminiscence of tripel about it, those sort of sugary notes that you get from a tripel in the beginning of the flavour. It's really unusual that to pick that up in a New England IPA. That's probably the biggest quirk about this beer compared to others. So yeah, I really like how that goes together. The malt base in this, and as well as that adjunct that they've put in there, it really does work, and it helps that Belgian sugar just almost amplifies the sort of caramelly biscuity flavours that this beer has. But you'll find as you go further into the aftertaste, it does dry out in the centre of your palate a little bit, but it does that at the same time does help the pungency of some of the fruity aspects of this beer. On the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, there is definitely a little touch of earthiness there. That spreads forward a little bit, and as you get towards the front of your palate, or the front corners of your tongue rather, you do get a nice sort of slightly spicy floral aromaticity, and if I remember correctly, that will be the Victoria's Secret that gives you that. I always remember Victoria's Secret being a little bit spicier than Galaxy, even though earlier I said Victoria's Secret is the little brother of the Galaxy hop. But you do get a nice bit of, it's almost a little bit dank as well, to be honest with you. You do get a nice floral aromatic bite out of this one, but then round the very front curve of the palate, you've got that nice lighter grassy quality in there as well. So on the fruity side of things then, as I always say, you get that little oily bubble behind the front curve of your palate, and that's where those nice juicy fruity esters come out. Yeah, and I mean, this one is kind of what you would expect in terms of fruitiness. If you go to the back of that oily bubble, that's where you get the darker sort of passion fruity and grapefruity notes. I think in this one, in this case, the Citra is giving you a little bit of a darker grapefruit there, but as you come further forward, you can feel the Victoria's Secret and the Galaxy giving you the passion fruits, but I think Citra definitely is giving you a little bit of grapefruit, and that builds a good bridge between the slight dankness and dark floral aromaticity that this beer has on the front corners of your palate, so you can really get those stronger, more pungent tropical fruits in there. But as you move further forward on the palate of this one, it does evolve to be a little bit more kind of pineapple-y and apricot-y as you move further forward from the passion fruity notes. There's definitely a bit of mango in there as well, so at the very back, grapefruit, passion fruit, mangoes, and then further forward on the tongue, you start to get the sort of apricot-y, you get the apricot-y and more pineapple-y notes there. And then if you just go in behind the kind of front curve of the palate a little bit, that's where you start to get the complexities that you'll find from Citra. So for me, there's a little bit of lychee there, and definitely a bit of a kind of limey quality. And the further that you go into the aftertaste, you start to get some of these sort of stone fruity qualities that you'll get from the Brew 1. What kind of berryish note is it? I would say it's almost a little bit just like a very slight kind of candied strawberry. I think it might be mixing in with the gooseberries and the lychee notes that you're getting out of the Citra. So I think the Brew 1 for me is pretty subtle, but I'm guessing the Brew 1 might also be contributing a little bit to the to the kind of pungency that you're getting from the sort of the floral aromatic side of the beer as well. I always remember it just being quite stone fruity. I don't remember it being quite as floral and aromatic as that, but it's a really nice little subtlety that you get out of this. So if you like the Galaxy hop and you like the Citra hop, you are going to enjoy this one. The quirk with this beer really is that little bit of candied sugar in there, and also the Brew 1 giving you these sort of candied red fruit and stone fruity qualities, if you like. There is a little bit of an almost cranberry, candied strawberry quality to this beer in the aftertaste as well. But overall, I can see why Mark was raving about this beer, so big shout out to him in this video, and thank you for the recommendation with this one. That was the reason that I bought this in Valhalla's Goat. But yeah, really, really good beer. And compared to the other ones that I've had from Whiplash and from Wylam, they hold themselves to very high standards, and it's been a while since I've had one of their beers. But even if I hold this beer, if I'm quite hard on it, I think this one is very, very solid, to be honest with you. So if you get the chance to try this one, by all accounts, this is one of the best beers that Wylam have done over the last year or so. And Whiplash, of course, they are very, very good in this style as well. So to have these two breweries collaborate, it's no surprise that they've done something pretty damn special with this. So big thumbs up to both of these breweries here, and make sure you check them out. In terms of the mouthfeel then, I would describe this beer as being it's at the top end of mid-bodied. I think it's fair to say that. Carbonation is very smooth. Yeah, smooth carbonation in this one. The mouthfeel comes across as being quite oily. There is an element of wetness there and also smoothness, but to me, this is quite an oily New England IPA rather than anything else. In terms of the IBU count on this beer, the hoppy bitterness, I think this one is maybe around 40-ish. I think it's a little bit more than this kind of standard 30 that you're getting from a number of IPAs these days, but I think that's the West Coast bitterness starting to creep back in to this sort of New England obsession that a lot of breweries have these days. I think this one is a little bit higher than simply 30, the standard 30 IBUs you'll get with this. Good little bit of spicy floral aromaticity in there. The malt base is well balanced between the smoothness and a little bit of sweetness, both from the Belgian sugar and also from the Carapils malt that's in there. Lovely juicy fruity qualities, a bit of pungency in that fruit as I was saying, but also some juiciness further towards the front of the palate. But overall, this is just a really nice beer, a little bit quirky, but overall I wouldn't say it doesn't do anything too surprising with this New England IPA style. I think it's one of these ones that's just very, very well crafted, and with these two breweries it's not surprising at all, to be honest with you. So let's leave it at that for this one. This one is the Do You Want to Touch Me, a double New England IPA at 8.3% with brewed by Whiplash Brewing from Dublin, Ireland, in collaboration with Wylam Brewery from Newcastle in England. A lovely, lovely beer. This one a little bit quirky in the style, but not doing anything overly surprising, just very, very well crafted, and one of the beers that you definitely need to check out if you get the chance. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Wylam Brewing and from Whiplash Brewing, and I'm sure I'll return to these guys at some point in the near future. Make sure you check out my social media, check out these two breweries, and I will catch you guys very soon. The Do You Want to Touch Me, double dry hops New England double IPA, pardon me, at 8.3% from Whiplash in Dublin and Wylam in England. Until the next time, it's Slange just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Slange at school, cheers, make sure you check out this beer.